listening to Inspire Change, a broadcast that strives to educate, motivate, and empower men to challenge traditions of masculinity. To guide us through the intricacies and intersections of emotions, relationships, and male identity is renowned psychologist, author, and speaker Gunter. This is Inspire Change.
Before I begin the actual podcast, I would like to respectfully acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of the land on which I work. I would also like to pay my respects to their elders past and present. Welcome everybody to another episode of Inspire Change.
Hello everyone, I'm Miranda Spigener-Sapon and you are listening to Inspire Change. I would like to welcome our listeners to this special bonus episode of Inspire Change. Normally, I'm behind the scenes as the executive producer and showrunner of Inspire Change with Gunter, a globally syndicated podcast now in its fifth successful season that is hosted by psychologist and author Gunter Swoboda. But this Friday, we have an added bonus. We plan to do more like this into season 6, 2024, where we dive into thoughtful conversations with authors, artists, and other thought leaders looking to inspire change through art and literature. Joining me is my co-host, author Kristen Ruggeber. She is a critically acclaimed author of the Legend of the Lamp time travel series trilogy, and also, she is a writer, is part of my Hazley animated series that will be starting up production again early next year. She's also has a Christmas children's book that she wrote that is coming out from Bonfire Cinema that she co-wrote with her husband, Michael Ruggeber, called The Penguin and the Pixies, that's due out this Christmas. But we're not here to talk about that today.
That's right. We're here to introduce some wonderful authors who have some new books to share. And I thought, Miranda, would you like to introduce them?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we've got some great, these authors are from Winterwolf Press. They'll each be sharing with us some insight about them and their books. And so, Chris, let's get this party started. First up, we have, of these four authors, we have Jerry Hurtubise, author of Parkinsonian Democracy, a legal fiction advocating diet and exercise for Parkinson's. A seasoned trial attorney from San Francisco found himself on an unexpected journey after being diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Leveraging his extensive experience in litigating head trauma cases, Jerry embarked on a mission to uncover the essential tools required to tame his disease, all aiming to continue leading a fulfilling life alongside Catherine, his beloved wife of 35 years. His explorations pave the way for managing his condition and fuels his passion for writing. Before his current project, Parkinsonian Democracy, Jerry penned The Spiritual Apprenticeship of a Curious Catholic, a previously published book that explores the depths of faith and spirituality. And Jerry's life works are an inspirational treatment to the resilience and adaptability in adversity. His remarkable journey continues to unfold, educating and inspiring others. Next, we have Christine Contini, whom I've actually had the pleasure of meeting a few years ago at Book Expo and BookCon. She's a healer and author of Death Awakening to Life, Standing in a Dead Man's Body, and Rising from the Ashes. Christine Contini is on a mission to bring joy, empowerment, and knowledge to the world. Her goals are to awaken the sleepers and unveil the many miraculous advances in human evolution that we all can achieve. Through sharing her own experiences, she can illustrate what is possible and introduce slight adjustments to familiar concepts. Christine delights in inspiring people to recognize their own innate power and to learn to embrace themselves as enlightened human beings completely. We are all participating in this grand adventure together, and not only are we more effective when we work in groups, but it's more fun too, says Contini. Next up, we have Russ Thompson, that I have not met physically, but we have corresponded quite a bit on social media. Russ is an author of The Loop Breaker, A Beacon and the Darkness, and The Owls of Sedgemount. Russ Thompson is a writer, teacher, and musician who has been writing fiction for 20 years and teaching for 16. He has helped many others create and mold their aspirations into reality. These projects include works in the genres of fantasy, romance, horror, and biographies, and also his own collection of short stories called The Tales from the Rim, a fictional account of legends and ghost stories set in his native state of Tennessee. Russ strives to bring a unique and inspirational voice to his work and to help others do the same. And last but not least, we have Jeffrey Naylor, chief editor of Wolf Press and author of the upcoming Love at First Bite, or How My Mama Met My Daddy, and other stories from the life of a baby boomer. He is also an editor, ghostwriter, writing coach, and teacher. Jeffrey has extensive experience and a long history of helping people express themselves through words and writing. Jeff has been teaching English off and on for 5 decades, from teaching English in high school through the university level. He's a retired professor from Indiana University Southeast, where he taught English literature, philosophy, and ethics. He also did a stint at teaching at the University of Seoul in Jeonju City, South Korea. Naylor also served as a reserve officer in the United States Army Reserves, retiring as a lieutenant colonel. And Jeffrey is a father of 6. So without further ado, got to get this party started. Welcome everyone to Inspire Change.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Great to be here. Great to see. All right, Chris, let's roll into some questions here. I think first we have a question for Jerry.
Yes, we do. I was wondering, to start with, what exactly is Parkinsonian democracy? Can you explain it a little bit?
Yeah. First of all, I'd like to thank the people at Winter Wolf Press for making this a very, very enjoyable experience. They took a good writer and turned him into a great writer, and I think they have to be mentioned because it has been such an enriching experience working with them. Parkinsonian democracy, a legal fiction. If someone that's diagnosed with Parkinson's disease chooses to live in a Parkinsonian democracy, they accept personal responsibility over their lifestyle and make the changes necessary to slow down the progress of Parkinson's. What I do is make people aware of the incredible tools that they have in taming the disease and getting them to realize that they have an incredible amount of power to change their lives, and they don't have to treat Parkinson's the way their parents do, in just taking medications and waiting for bad things to happen. But it does assume a radical lifestyle change, because most of the power that they have, most of the power that they have, they don't even know exists, because doctors don't tell them that they have. It can become very evident from early onset when they begin exercising that they have a capacity to create a chemical reaction in their brain to cause information to be disseminated between brain cells. And in our case, movement information is key. And also the power they have over their diet is key. They have the freedom to choose which food to eat. And that's where it gets really kind of difficult, because most people that I talk to that have Parkinson's want to know what they should eat. And it can be very dangerous territory to traverse, but you don't want to tell somebody what to eat. But what I do tell them is going to the internet and typing in good foods for the brain. And then what really gets me into trouble is typing in bad foods for the brain, because what happens is inevitably people realize that the foods that they're eating they're acting as a co-conspirator to the death of their own brain cells. And after all the research and writing and litigating brain injury cases as a trial attorney, I realize it comes down to one thing, and that's keeping brain cells alive. And people, when they're diagnosed with Parkinson's, have lost about half of the brain cells they have in an area of the brain called the substantia nigra. And so you can either look at the substantia nigra as being half full or half empty. And I choose to see it as half full and realize that the objective and the goal is to try to keep them alive and to make sure that people realize that they can do this every day. Matter of fact, what I do every morning is I get on the elliptical machine outside in our backyard, and I stand for an hour, and I induce a runner's high and restore all normal signaling in the brain. And it kind of sets this tone for the whole day because it gives me an incredible feeling of well-being, and it's very much in conformity with what doctors at Harvard believe, that when you induce a runner's high, you can restore all normal signaling in the brain. And then I do online fitness classes with a wonderful organization called PD Connect, and I take long walks, and I do my chores around the house that my wife reminds me to do every day, and eat the right foods. I mean, I can't be more clear and emphasize more loudly the importance of a diet. And I see the Parkinson's, the treatment of Parkinson's as like a three-legged stool, one leg being medical treatment, and another leg being exercise, and another leg being diet. And, what I would like to say is that I did come to a revelation that modern medicine is really good at treating the symptoms of the disease. But what we do when we exercise and we use diet as a medicine is we treat the disease. We get in and we have control. The Parkinsonian democracy means that we have the freedom to do what we need to do to make sure that we have enough blood and oxygen in the system, and we have the proper glucose to cause the spark that causes the transfer of chemical neurotransmitters to another brain cell. And that, in effect, is what the objective is. And by doing this, you can slow down the progress of the disease incredibly. I'm 10 years into it now, and I feel like I've really gotten to the place now where it's going at a snail's pace.
How does your diet compare to, say, a keto diet? Are you basically, that seems to be another one that would seem like it would work for that?
Well, everybody has to find their own diet, and you know what I've done is I've not gone into all the various diets other than going to the internet and doing research. My wife has been very instrumental in doing research into finding the proper foods that we have to eat to keep a healthy brain cell. And there's a wonderful book written by Dr. Robert Lustig called Metabolical. He's a doctor at UCSF. He basically says that sugar has a tremendous adverse effect on the mitochondria of the brain cell. And the mitochondria is like the part of the brain cell that is the power station. And, I talk to people who are really glued into making sure that they know that they just can't get over their sweet tooth. And I hear, and I understand that, and I hear that. But people have to change this and first become personally responsible for whether or not they want good health or a fading health of treating the disease, like I mentioned before, like their parents, where they take medications and sit around and wait for bad things to happen.
Are you in the same situation as Michael J. Fox? I mean, do you agree with him on the way he's handling his disease, or?
Well, you know, again, everyone's Parkinson's is different.
Right.
You know, what I've come to realize is that there are foundations in America and the more traditional medical institutions that deal with Parkinson are more into research, and they're more research oriented than finding a cure. And I know it's kind of a bold statement, but you know, I'm just thinking good luck with that. I mean, especially in my lifetime, where you know I essentially found the cure for me is to get up every morning and get on an elliptical machine and restore normal signaling in the brain by inducing that runner's high and eating the right foods. And
diet and exercise are important, I think, with every disease.
Oh, yeah, it is so important. You know, that a book like what you have, Jerry, is very. There's a lot of people that are experiencing that, and it is good that we bring up, like I said, people like Michael J. Fox. I'd like to kind of get more into that a little bit more, and you know, I think with each of you guys, I'd like to probably do a one-on-one as well. This is kind of like throwing everybody together in one room, like we're all sitting around. I wish we were all having a cup of coffee in the same place, because there's just so much material. I was like, oh my God, how are we going to do 4? Yeah, I definitely would like to have each one of you guys back. You know, and we're probably going to expound a little bit on that question. I kind of want to like move on to the next question, and then, like I said, feel free if anybody's got some, you know, feel free to jump into the conversation, you know, a lot, because it's fascinating, and the whole what you're doing is amazing with just, you know, treating, you know, instead of just the medication, you know, you're integrating wellness.
You know, I just would like to mention before I forget we got a wonderful blurb or quote from Davis Finney, who's founded the Davis Finney Foundation for Parkinson's, and he's one that believes in exercise, and he was an Olympic bicyclist that had looked at my book and gave us a very good review that'll go on the cover.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. And we're definitely going to have some links to everybody's on the show page by Friday when this goes to air. So we'll have all of that. That's just amazing. So let's just move on to the next. And like I said, we're going to come back to you, Jerry. And like I said, feel free if anybody has an in between. We'll just kind of get everybody's questions in right now.
I want to make a comment about Jerry's book, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was fortunate that I got to take an advanced look at Jerry's book, and it was such a unique perspective brought to you in a way that makes you think. It catches your attention. It gives you concepts that move you, versus like he says, a lot of people just wait to die even. And this was just like, no, we're not doing that. This is the new way to live. It was exciting to read.
Yeah. I noticed that as I was flipping through. I haven't had a chance to, like, before this interview, to read everybody's yet, but just kind of skimming through. And it's like I said, it's quite fascinating, your journey. And of course, I love your book cover too, because it's got definitely a pretty compelling as well. It kind of draws you into the whole story. Like, ooh, what's this about? You know? I can't wait to finish, like, actually reading it through. There was no way I was going to get through everybody's before the show. So Chris.
There we go. Christine, my husband, Mike, has been fighting stage 4 cancer, colon cancer, actually, for about a year and a half. and it's been rugged. How would your book, or perhaps your classes, since I see you're taking or you're doing classes for people, how would that help him in his fight to survive? What might he hope to learn from what you've written?
That's a huge question, but that is exactly why the work that we're doing right now exists, is for people like that. One of our tests that we did with the information was somebody with liver cancer, and within 30 days, we removed it from their system. We do it based on quantum entanglement frequencies, being able to hold a certain space inside of your body consistently. And what we would do through some of the information as to how he got to where he is. And we don't mean like diet and exercise. I know those are really important and they can be very helpful, but when you're trying to stop it on more of a spiritual level, on a frequency, vibrational, tissue level, without any interactions with food and diet, then we focus on the emotional. What is you are continuing to every day? How do we do to think and believe and to feel and to see other things? And it's a method where we take you between space and time, where you stand in a place where you are the creator, you recognize your creation, and you hold that creation. And when you hold it for so many days straight, the world acknowledges it. It's a different way of approaching the reality as we know it. And we're finding it to be very effective on things such as cancer cells in the body, long-term pain.
My husband was also a Roman Catholic priest for 15 years before he left, and now he's an Episcopalian priest. And I'm wondering, when you went across the veil, did it change your views on your Catholicism? Do you think it influenced your NDE, or do you think your NDE influenced your Catholicism?
That's an excellent question, because when growing up Catholic, being a strong, faithful Catholic, I had a lot of opinions and ideas that I followed. But the idea that we go through a tunnel, the idea that we're judged, all those things that we're told about death, I thought those were stories, because I thought, how can anyone know what death is like? And how can you come back into anyone?
Right.
And I didn't have a connection to the idea that anyone could talk to us from the other side. So when I did have my near-death experience, and I did go through a tunnel, I was like, after the fact, I was like, oh, that's so interesting. I just thought that was a story. And I did land on a platform, at a space where somebody came and met me. And what was really different was there were no words. And there was a larger feeling of love than I even knew was possible. And you hear stuff like that in the Bible and in a church. You hear that, God's love is immense and bigger than you can know. And then to actually have that feeling, well, that gave me hope. And that gave me a connection to something beyond what I'd learned with with religion. And I had already actually stepped a bit back from my Catholic religion at the time, because life had just gotten so hard. And I thought, they must have got it wrong. There must be something wrong. And so my focus was on ending suffering. And to be at the end of my life, which is what I thought I was, and to have my suffering end, that was it. And I didn't want to cry. And when they pushed me back into my body, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I know what's possible now, and do that in my daily life. I'm no longer going to focus on the suffering. I'm going to focus on that love. And that changed everything for me, to know that love was possible and that there was something between me and it. Whatever I was doing to myself or whatever was going on in this world, I had to figure out how to get beyond that in order to re-experience that deep, intense love that, again, it's amazing. It's something you want forever. And now my daily life is beyond just religion. It's knowing that I can be this feeling, I can be this connection, I can be this depth of emotion and love for every human being on this planet. And that's how my relationship with spirituality began, and my end of a doctrinated religion came.
Mhm. So you definitely feel that you are a conduit between here and the other side. You can talk to dead people.
Well, you
Which
begin to
sounds cool to
understand,
me, because so do I.
yeah, but you begin to understand that right. And so you begin to understand that it's always been there, that connection was always there, but something was in the way of it. And that's when it goes back to what we have already spoken about with Jerry, which is once we're in fear, a lot of the parts of our body aren't functioning at their optimum level, including our brain, including our flow of energy. And when you get out of fear, and that's how I got out of fear, was again focusing on that deep love and that connection about how we're all one and we're all unified in this other space, and just being able to experience it here. And then you realize, oh, we already didn't know we were hearing what we were hearing. We just chalked it up to, oh, that's a coincidence that I thought about that right now. And it just goes on and on like that.
That's wonderful. Okay, off to Russ. Both of your latest books are about changes in the main characters' lives, big changes. What strengths do these characters possess that enable them to cope with their situations? What do you think?
Yeah, so with the loop breaker, the main character is Leanne, and at first she doesn't realize she has the strength to deal with the situation. So that's a big part of the story, is her realizing that she does have that strength, because she immediately has to deal with the fact that her mom has passed away, and that was the person that she was most attached to, most close to. And that's suddenly gone. And at the same time that that's happening, she's getting all these communications from basically spirits, because she has this ability that she's not yet aware of, that she can receive messages from them. And so she's having to deal with all these things at the same time. And at first she doesn't realize she has the strength. She's dealing with fear. And what she comes to realize is that this fear of not having the person she was most attached to, when she could put that aside, then she could really, truly help people the way she was meant to. And she also, of course, had to accept the fact that she had this gift to receive these messages from beyond and help these people. And she didn't quite know how to help them either. So it's about not only discovering that you have these abilities to overcome fear and help other people, but that it's going to take other people as well, because it took a lot of other characters coming in and helping her to see that she had that strength. She had like a close group of friends, and she had kind of a mentor figure, which is Felicity, which was kind of like the town fortune teller. And so that's the main thing, is that she had the strength to empathize and help these spirits, but she had to first see that she had the ability and remove the blocks that she had with the fear in order to see that she could actually help people.
I love that idea. Did you draw from any personal things that have happened to you in your life?
Well, one of the things I was kind of thinking about while I was writing it was the mortality of myself and my parents, my parents being, getting on in their years, and thinking about what it would be like, to be without them. And luckily I'm not without them. They're still with me. But what would that be like to not have that connection, to not have, the connection to people that you're almost, more close to than almost anyone? And do you have the strength to be able to carry on? And, so that was a big underlying theme of it as well, for sure.
I see you're very involved with the ecology too. Can you tell us a little bit about you seem to be a great lover of the outdoors.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's a big theme with Owls of Sedgemount, because it's about, a lot of it is about conservation and about, recognizing how things are connected in terms of the environment. So that's one of the big messages there, is that everything, not only are we all connected, but in a scientific sense, in an ecosystem, everything has its niche, it has its job, it has its reason and purpose for being. And that was a big theme that went into that. And that's really important to me as an educator, as a science educator, as well as an author. And that was a big message from Owls of Sedgemount, is that we're all connected. Every living thing has its place in an ecosystem, and ecosystems are all important, all in their own way. And they have to be for that reason.
It kind of plays into that, the whole 6 degrees of separation, if you think about it too. How we're, about being all connected. How everybody is somewhat, I'll do that all the time. I was like, you're the reason why we're 1 degree of separation now,
Right.
Yeah. And connectivity is so important, especially I think the books and the messages. I'm noticing a through line with all of you guys. There's a little bit of a spiritual connection, at least, we'll get to Jeff's book next, but there's like a little bit of a theory, and I think that's partially with Winterwolf and having like-minded synced authors and stuff like that. But I love that.
What grades do you teach, Russ?
I teach 5th and 6th grade science.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's a wild group.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, they can be, for sure. A fun group too, because they're not yet jaded. Once they get into 7th and 8th grade, they get kind of like, real jaded and cool, too cool for school and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, I guess you are kind of in it, because right now you're dealing with, I guess, with 5th grade. I remember, I guess, when I was in 5th grade, I mean, I'm a Gen Xer, but it's like there was, you're basically the seniors of elementary school, and then you get to junior high, and then that's when the hormones are really going wild. So I guess actually you're in a sweet spot. So I guess you're glad you're probably not teaching high school.
Yeah, they still have a fascination
I think
about
middle
things.
School's the worst.
Right.
5th grade and sophomores are 3 pivotal years, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
Mold those minds a bit. All right. That's fascinating. All right. Let's move on to Jeff. First question.
Jeff, you seem to have lived everywhere. You've been involved in so many cultures. Which one did you feel really a symbiotic relationship with? What do you think? Which one did you really get into and feel at home in?
Before I can even answer that, I have to speak to the fact that the reason that I have an affinity for other cultures is because of my upbringing. Mm-hmm. My father was a Baptist minister. He often spoke about cultures around the world and how we as Christians were missionaries and we needed to go everywhere there was to go. Well, I took that literally as a child. I determined that I was going to go everywhere one day. And when I grew up, we may not have seen eye to eye on our religious beliefs, I did have a desire to go and visit many different places. I started off with the closest, which would be Mexico, and then wound my way to Europe before I went to Africa and then to Southeast Asia. Over the last 70 years of my life. I
away from our little state of Indiana, isn't it? Because I'm
yes, it is. I'd say that. Pardon?
Where were you born in Indiana?
Well, I was born in Orlando, Florida.
Really?
Yes, before there was a Mickey Mouse.
Oh, but you ended up here in Indiana.
Well, I live in Kentucky, but my last teaching post was at University of Indiana. But I would say that Southeast Asia, you wanted to ask me which I have the greatest affinity for. I might get myself in trouble here because I have an affinity for all of them. I have a real deep love for the many different cultures in this world, which have taught me a lot about the things that I have learned in my life. But I think Southeast Asia, I find the people, even though I taught at the University of Seoul in Korea, I find that the people of the Philippines are the most endearing. And I can say that with great veracity because I married one. after
Yeah.
And I better say that, right? That needs to be my correct answer. They are the best.
Mine too. I agree.
Yeah. Actually, the Filipino people are very loving. They're very sweet. Almost at times, you have to think that they're very innocent in their way that they believe, and they're a little bit. It reminds me of the way it was when I grew up in the 50s and the 60s, where the extended family was appreciated to a greater extent, and that sitting around the home dinner was not just at Thanksgiving, but was every week. And oftentimes that's the way it is in the Philippines. They throw a good spread, and they throw it big, and they throw it often. But
the importance of family dinners to me, I think it seems like everybody's on the go so much, and with kids with their noses in their phones all the time.
Absolutely.
My dad was always big about, we'd come home from school and we'd sit down at the table at dinner together and like enjoy a family dinner or a meal. And it's like, okay,
enjoy lumpia.
Turn off the TV. The TV had to be off if we were sitting down at dinner. You know,
one thing you do around these family dinners is you pay attention more to food, the types of food. Now, I was the same way growing up. We had our family dinners, but my mother could tell you about everything that we were eating. Of course, she made it generally, but my father also had a garden, and he could tell you how it was grown, what the nutrients of each vegetable was, why it was important. Now, I lost a lot of that through the 60s, 70s, and 80s and 90s, but my wife currently can tell you everything that's what we're eating. She knows exactly all the vitamins and minerals are in it. I'll say to her, now tell me again why we're eating this. And she'll go, oh, I can tell you exactly. It has vitamin this, this, and this, and how it was grown and everything. And because it was so important for them to be able to describe their foods. And of course, a lot of their foods are a mystery to me, but they're enjoyable none the same. But they're full of life-giving nutrients, and it really has changed my life in my older years to change the way I have an appreciation.
I'm really interested in your book of vignettes.
Oh,
can you share one little one with us just now? Just a short one.
Can I what?
Can you share one of your vignettes? Just a short one. A little.
Well, I will. The time that I thought my mother had burned alive inside the house when I was 4 years old, she would always make me breakfast in the morning, and she would sing her little songs while she was cooking the bacon and the eggs. But one morning, the eggs and the bacon, it seemed to explode in the skillet and caught fire a little bit. And I remember running, screaming out of the back door. Of course, we had a screen porch back door, running out the door and crying for my mother, come on, Mama, hurry up, get out of the house. And I ran all the way around to the front of the house, and I'm standing there and I'm waiting for the house to explode or for it to burn down or something. And nothing happens. And I waited and waited and waited. Nothing happens. So I decided, well, I've got to go around and see what happens. So I go back around and look and see, peek in the door, and my mother's just standing there. She's singing a little tune, and she's continuing to cook the breakfast. And I thought, what in the world's going on here? I thought you were dying, and you had me out there just waiting in sweat and tears. And she goes, oh, what's wrong with you? It was just a little skillet fire. So those are the kind of things that I talk about, is that memories are important. And that's what the main theme of my book is about, is memories. It's not so much of the stories per se, but it's the fact that we've got to have an appreciation for all the things that happen in our lives. And then we've got to keep a collection of them somehow, some way. If we can write our own little vignettes or our own little books, or keep them on recording. One of my sons, I have 4 sons. My 4th son, before my father passed away at 96, he sat down and recorded my father. As a Baptist minister, he had lots of stories to tell. And he said, please tell us your stories. And so he would record these stories that my father told. He was in his early 90s then, still a young man. But we have that precious gift on recording of his stories. And those are the memories of our family, but every family has their own memories. And I encourage everybody, and I hope in my book, I encourage people to find a way to bring together their family memories and to share it with their family members. You know, make their family members read it or whatever. Share them at Christmas time or Thanksgiving, whenever. But it's important.
Yeah, that's the power of storytelling, the stories that we tell. And, you know, earlier in this podcast, which deals more with like masculinity and inspiring change and psychology. And, but, you know, it's all about stories. And that's how that also connects. And like I said, I love the through line of all the authors. That's why in a way I was like, let's just have everybody on it first and then we can divide individually, because it's a good way to give people an at a glance and then, you know, and look at it and encourage the books and get a feel, because everybody's got a story to tell. That's the power of, you know, writing a book, doing a personal podcast, whatever. I mean, you can, you know, you don't have to be necessarily a big one. Who knows? It could end up being big. This podcast started out tiny and now we're in our 5th season. And so it's the stories. That's all about inspiring change. How can we inspire one another with each other's story? So thank you so much for sharing that, Jeff. Let's go back to Jerry.
Since Parkinson's is a progressive and very debilitating disease, have your coping mechanism changed since you were first diagnosed? If so, how is that? How have you grown through this? How long ago were you diagnosed? And what changes have taken place in your life?
Well, I actually was a trial attorney for most of my career, and ironically enough, litigating brain injury cases. So I had a head start on understanding the brain. And when I was 61, I was diagnosed with, I think I was diagnosed when I was 60, about 10 years ago. Matter of fact, I just celebrated my 10-year anniversary. And when I was diagnosed, I think what happens is people experience what I call a Parkinson's panic. Because it's such a, because you hear just those words, debilitating, progressive, and other adjectives that are equally scary, and you can think that you can get into a real funk and allow that part of your brain that controls the fear to take control, such that you never get to your rational brain. And that's one of the things in my book. What I do is I try to get people to understand the obstacles that they will face, and the obstacles being fear, prejudice against exercise, and addiction. And what those obstacles have in common is they all need to be functioning from different parts of the brain other than the rational part of the brain. So my evolution has caused me to believe that people that are diagnosed with Parkinson's better get to the rational part of their brain quickly so that they can enjoy their life and to modify their diets and do the exercise that I encourage them to do. And it is always telling when I talk to people about exercise, how I know instinctively which ones are going to do it and which ones aren't. And the ones that don't consider exercise as an option always think of it as a necessary evil. And I learned quite early that it's actually a necessary blessing. And what I've done is I've, from day to day, with feeling such joy, and it has really enhanced the relationship between my wife and my son and I, too. We've been very close. And one lucky strike extra, you know, when you modify your diet and you exercise and do all these healthy things and get good night's sleeps because of the Parkinson's factor. You also improve your heart, your digestive system, and other organs in your body. And, you know, I actually would probably outlive myself if I hadn't had Parkinson's.
That's great advice. Brilliant.
Yeah, words to live by.
Mhm.
Totally.
But those are some of the changes.
The idea that fear that's the beginning of the problem for most everything as well. Because with the work I do, that's the first thing we have to combat too, is get you out of fear, get you out of fight or flight, get your system to be calm, get your body to be relaxed, because your wellness does not occur when you're in stress. And Jerry getting that runner's high, it's breaking that connection to stress. It's giving him the full function of a system. And that's part of what we have to do in any form of wellness. And I applaud that information, Jerry. It's great that you can show us how the brain is often in the way of what we need.
Good point. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you feel that fear, the adrenal glands produce a chemical called cortisol. And, you know, it's a very, very effective chemical when our ancestors were running away from saber-toothed tigers. But in our culture, we're staying in a constant state of fabricated fear. And that cortisol continues to pump out of our adrenal glands. Some medical people think that causes a lot of the problems that we have. And stress can be a cause of so many different diseases, and some people think even Parkinson's.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean,
I agree with all of that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just goes back to definitely, like I said, we're gonna have to schedule some more one-on-ones to because you know, there's just so much, like I said, your well-being from, you know, wellness, not just about the medication. Okay, you got this diagnostics, you know, but then there's the, you know, having your mental state and the wellness to balance, and, you know, the dopamine that you get from, you know, the different, you know, endorphins, and, you know, I'm probably throwing in a bunch of words right now, but yeah, it's fascinating.
Sounds good.
Exactly.
It's like you're treating the whole person. You're not just taking a medicine.
Right.
You've got this complete lifestyle
very,
shift that happens.
By the way, Jeff, I love your background. You got the books in the background. I'm thinking, you know, I'm a writer, and me and Christine have the similar backgrounds right now because I'm sitting next to a white wall.
Well, this basically you give some of them. They keep on going down the wall and around.
It's an impressive library.
I love that.
Yeah.
You know, my thing is to grow my library of books. Even, you know, I'd love to have a room that's just all books. But yeah, let's go ahead and get your questions done, and then we'll bounce back to Russ and the other two after that. So that way you can fade out if you need to.
All right, that sounds good.
Okay.
Go ahead, Chris. Take it away.
History. What makes you tick, Jeff, as far as history goes? What's your field?
Well, what most people don't realize is that a doctorate level in history has basically a major and a minor, just like in regular college. You have to have a major area, and then you have a minor area, so that you can, of course, have a more comprehensive view of history. So my major area was in ancient history. This is due lots to the fact that I grew up my father being a Baptist minister. My father is probably one of the most intelligent men I've ever known in my life, period. He was highly educated and talked about things that I never heard other people talk about until I was well into graduate school. So to me as a child. So I grew up with that and a great love for ancient history because, as you know, the Bible focuses a lot on ancient history. But also, I also have a Master of Divinity degree from the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary, which I focused also during that time on ancient Hebrew and Greek and Latin. Those languages taught me a love and appreciation for the literature of those peoples. So I had a great love, and I did a lot of archaeological work also in Israel and Egypt during my seminary years. But I also had, of course, an affinity for American history because there's nothing like being patriotic to the themes of American history. When you're growing up in the 50s and 60s, it was very much emphasized. So those were my points of emphasis. I emphasized my major was in Rome and Greece, and my minor was in American history.
That's wonderful. You use those insights that you learned while studying history in your vignettes. Do you have stories about?
Oh yeah, I do.
I'm looking forward to reading this book. I really am.
Well, you're one. If we get some others to you, that would be great.
After the show, there will be many. So that'll be great.
Yeah, I know it's. There's so many things.
Date on your book?
Well, Valentine's Day is what I was told. So
okay,
that's a little way. I had thought it'd be earlier, but I think it makes sense. It's supposed to be love at first sight. How my mama met my daddy. My mother and my father met each other while fighting and trying to kill each other in the middle of a school bus fight. And it's an interesting story, but that's the beginning of the book, and the beginning story is how my mother and father. It's not a statement of love at first sight, but love at first fight. And they literally had to have the school bus come to a halt, and the school bus driver pull them apart while all the kids were. And this is when they were in high school, so they were really going at it. But they eventually fell in love and were married for 70 years. So they have a beautiful story to tell. And there's a lot of my mother and my father in my stories, as well as my own children. My kids are the reason that I'm practically bald, because they have done so many insane things that drove me to the edge. But it's all about family. It's what it's about.
Yeah. But yeah, if there's any other questions, or if anybody's got any other comments, I kind of want to do a closeout, Jeff, of you, and I think definitely maybe closer to Valentine's Day, maybe I can do another one-on-one.
That would be great.
Where you can talk a little bit more about your book. So Jeanette will coordinate all that good stuff, and go from there. And again, I think everybody, I'd like to do a little bit of a one-on-one as well. But yeah, so Jeff.
My name is Jeffrey Naylor, and the name of the book is Love at First Fight, or How My Mama Met My Daddy, and Other Stories by a Baby Boomer. And it should be released sometime around Valentine's. I don't have a website other than my poetry website, Jeffrey Naylor Poetry, Jeffrey Lynn Naylor Poetry.com. So maybe you can look on there. I have about 200 poems. I'm also a poet, so I do a lot of things. But
awesome. Yeah. Well, you know what? I think every artist and writer is a multi-hyphenate. And that's what makes, I think, some people say, oh, I just focus on one thing. But you're a world traveler and a teacher and a poet and a writer and an artist. And so it's
hard not to be a poet. If you've seen as much of the world as I have, it's hard not to be a poet.
Exactly. It's beautiful. And yeah, I can't wait to hear more. And like I said, this is just an intro. This is just a beginning. Thank you so much,
everyone. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure talking to you, Kristen. Any closing words?
Oh, Jeff, it's been a pleasure. It really has. I've enjoyed talking to you. Even though you weren't a born and raised Hoosier, would consider you one of our own. And I can't wait to read your book and talk to you again someday, I hope.
Me too. Nice talking with you. Bye-bye.
Have a great night. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Talk to you soon.
Russ, I love the ideas of your book. I really do.
Thank you.
What are you hoping that the children will learn from reading your books? What do you want them to get out of it?
Well, let's see. I guess we'll take it book by book. Like with the Loop Breaker, I think the lesson that I want kids to learn from it is that, you may feel like you're alone at times, and you may feel like you can't deal with all the issues that are, surrounding you. And that's just not true. It's this common thread that we've been talking about all night about, fear that I can't do it, fear that I can't face this alone, that, all the challenges that are facing me are too much for me to bear, the fear of all of that. And that once you remove that, it opens up this just whole avenue of possibilities, and that you should nurture your own creativity and your own way of helping the world and giving something to the world. Because again, we all have something, we all have a gift, we all have some way that we're helping and that we're connected to each other. And once you remove those blocks, you can figure that out, you can find that, and you can freely give that of yourself. And you do have the strength within you to overcome those things. You aren't alone. And when you're in those moments and those feelings that, I can't overcome this, it won't last forever. It will end, and you can find the resilience and strength to get past that. So that's one of the big things with the Loop Breaker for sure. And similarly with the Owls of Sedgemount, like how we're all connected and how we all have a gift to bring, but also kind of an environmental awareness as well. It's not only an awareness of what their position or what their job in the world is, but how the world is connected to them and how their actions are connected to the environment and the world as well. Because, obviously we have, looking at it from a science teacher and an environmentalist perspective, we have all these imperiled ecosystems, and when we don't recognize the importance of those and we look up one day and those things are gone, that's the tremendous amount of loss that we'll feel from that, that we have all these endangered species that are clinging to small habitats in different parts of the world. And that deserves our attention, because everything has its role, everything has its importance. And so that's a big message behind Owls of Sedgemount as well. And also, if there's a way for you to help someone in a situation, then do that. Because one of the things that occurs in the book is that the owls are trying to save their home, and they need some kind of connection to the outside, because obviously they don't communicate with humans. So there's this little boy that comes in and starts to share this information with them, and they start communicating with him, and they've got an advocate now in the human world. Right. So it's like, if you've got some gift to give and you see this need there, then, give of yourself if you can, and so that's a big part of it as well. So I'd say those are some of the takeaways. Very
inspiring. That's great. I think we need more books like that. Are you planning on making any more?
Right now I'm editing the sequel to the Loop Breaker, which is called Secrets of the Falls. And in that, Leanne tries to kind of get away from her gift. Like she wants to be a normal person, so to speak. She doesn't want to have like messages from beyond and all these things, but she can't escape it. And it turns out that what she has to overcome in this chapter is her anger at the way she thinks things should be, and not accepting things as they are, not accepting her gifts, and not accepting the things that are calling to her. And when she finally gives into that, it opens up a whole new chapter. So I'm working on that. That's a new thing that's coming out. And also working on finishing a collection of short stories. And some of those definitely have some of those environmental themes. And some of those are a little more spooky, like horror stories and ghost stories and things like that. But those themes are definitely reoccurring and running through those stories as well. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
at least
it's going to be great.
It sounds exactly. You mentioned, you had a great list of favorites on there. And I was like, oh, no. Every now and then I'll go somewhere and I see a weird hallway and I'll go, this is like The Shining.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't think I would want to see a remake of The Shining. I think one's enough. You know, it's a classic. You know.
Yeah. Right. Well, they
but,
had a movie out a couple of years ago that was like supposed to be kind of like the next chapter in The Shining, and it wasn't the same though. It's not this. It wasn't this.
Yeah. I mean, you know, Jack Nicholson and his mannerisms were just, you know, off the chain.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it sounds great. Really looking forward to diving into it more. So let's jump back over to Jerry.
What specific aspects of your I noticed you're Catholic too. That was definitely kind of a running thing tonight. But of your Catholic spirituality, have you brought have brought you strength and hope? Is that a big part of your life now, Jerry? Still?
You know, any strength and hope that I have, you know, I have to give credit to other people, especially my wife and my son.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they just are such inspirations to me and help me get through each day. But earlier on in my life, I give credit to the mostly the Jesuits who I trained by in college and with the law school at the Jesuit University. And what they're capable of doing is making the person realize that they have how much potential they have to change the world. And I can remember back in college when I was feeling some degree of distress, and I went to a Jesuit to talk to him. He made arrangements for me to go to California, meet up with a Catholic priest that was just ordained, and he took me through the migrant labor camps of California, and I ended up for 2 years after college working with Cesar Chavez and the United Farm Workers Union. And I got to tell you that, you know, I enjoyed that experience because we have a choice of who we want to associate with. And we associate with people that, when we associate with people that are other-driven, we become other-driven ourselves. And it just was a learning experience for me to go through my Catholic upbringing because, you know, it was a curse and a blessing. Mostly a blessing because after I figured out who I wanted to associate with and realizing the Jesuits were really good at teaching you that you model what you see. And if you choose to model goodness, love, and forgiveness in people that are kind of experts at that, then you will become a forgiving person yourself and very loving. I mean, if you want to associate with a group of white supremacists, then you are going to get a different result. And the Catholic Church can be criticized for many, many reasons, but one thing they can't be criticized for is having a large tent. And, you know, there's plenty of opportunity to find people within the church that are kind and giving and loving and have so much to offer to the world. And I was impressed with the Jesuits to the extent that they taught me so much about myself. And some of that gets into the book because one thing that I realized was that the obstacles that prevent us from making good decisions about our health are the same obstacles that prevent us from making good decisions about our mental health as well as our spiritual health. And I mentioned that to a woman that works with Sister Helen Prejean recently, and she just said, Jerry, you know, you got it. It's all interconnected. And it doesn't have to be complicated. The Jesuits told me to read the Sermon on the Mount 50 years ago, and I still haven't gotten through it. I mean, I read it, but every time I read it, I see something different.
Yeah.
So, you know.
My husband was trained by Jesuits at the Gregorianum in Rome. I can see where you became a very good attorney. They're sharp. It's good people to be trained by, especially for being an attorney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, favorite teacher at University of San Francisco was Jeff Brand, and he always used to see Jesuit priests have S.J. behind their name, and he said that stood for Jeff Brand.
Uh-huh.
And he was Jewish.
And he was Jewish. I guess that makes sense. All right. I think I've run out of questions. I've just now. When is your book coming out?
Well, it's been a moving target, but I think the latest is the day after Thanksgiving.
Oh, wonderful!
Just in time for people. And the title is Parkinsonian Democracy: A Legal Fiction by Jerry Hurtubise. And if you want to remember how to pronounce my last name, it's not a herd of cattle, but a herd of bees. Hurtubise.
Hurtubise. Sounds great.
And again, I can't, I got to tell you, this has been such a wonderful event because I feel such comfort associating with people that are on this call. And I told you about my time with the United Farm Workers Union, and it was this very similar reaction to associate with people that are other-driven. And I can tell that you're also other-driven, that you give me hope, and I can tell you each how you can make the world a better place by having you do one thing.
Okay. What's that?
Look in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's self-love and care is so important for anything. And so definitely, it has been a pleasure of having, as writers, just having everybody on and just share stories and to share what you've gone through, because, things that you talk about in your book, it may help. It's going to help definitely for sure other people who are experiencing Parkinson's or whatnot, or so forth and things like that. But then someone that's going through, whether it be cancer or MS, or anything that's debilitating, it can, you're not alone.
There's
like you were saying earlier, Russ, you're not alone. When there's people who are battling addiction issues. It makes me think about the recent deaths happen all the time, but then I think the one that really hit hard, and maybe because I'm a Gen Xer, but it was like the death of Matthew Perry, and listening to his audiobook and his story as he's narrating it. He published it 2 years before he tragically died, and it was like he was going through a lot of pain just in life, not thinking he was worth just because you have fame and you think, oh, that's going to help you and build on, it's how, how we connect, and that people love you, but sometimes, you put your, people put themselves through pain. And it's just being loving and being kind to one another, and, never stop. The world needs more empathy.
Yeah. Exactly. That was what I was just thinking. Empathy. And through this book, Jerry's book, I think we can all learn about learn to practice it.
Yeah. I love the through line in everybody's.
I do have one question more for Christine. I'd like to ask her. Can she tell us more about her workshop and classes that she's doing? I find that interesting.
So for the beginning of the year, we are kicking off a wellness expedition. And what we're doing in that wellness expedition is taking people step by step, because even though we can give you these great big concepts of what it is to get out of fight or flight, what it is to let go of the pain and suffering, what does that look like in daily life? And so we'll have a workbook, and the workbook will have day activities. We'll meet once a week to talk, how is this working in your life? What does it look like? Because when we say So with the workbook, we'll be taking people step by step through daily activities, daily things to do. And we have practices like motion, where you move through something very slowly in order to see where it's stuck in your body. So we don't always have to know what the problem is to release it, but the body has the connection. And if we just give attention to that connection, then that thing that is stuck in our system can release and everything just starts moving. So we'll get together once a week to discuss what is this happening in your lives. And as we've been having our trials on the material to make sure it's effective, we've been having people come back and say that their lives are enriched. Their conversations with people are more in depth. They're getting to understand things at a higher level than they had previously, because we teach people even how to listen. We teach them what it is to speak from the hook of who they are, is the fear of who they are. And all of this impacts your life. So it's more than just looking at how do I get rid of my illness. It's a complete experience of being the full expression of yourself in every moment with all parts of you to make a whole person that is communicated repeatedly to others so that you can be seen, understood, heard, and then you can have the opportunity to see and understand and hear others as well.
Beautiful. That is something I might be enjoying myself. I might have to join that. That sounds really fascinating.
Amazing. And like I said, we'll get everybody connected. I think I have emails on everybody. I know, Russ, we're connected on socials, but I'd like to send like an email to everybody just so we have everybody connected, and so we can kind of intermingle and how we can help each other, get your books promoted also, because this is really good. There's really some good stuff here. I definitely I feel like I got a lot more reading to do, as if I don't already, plus my own writing. But yeah, it's fantastic. This has been a great discussion. So but Christine, can you state your name? And then name your books and then the release dates on all of those. And of course, if they're already on the market, go ahead and give us a little bit about you and your books real quick.
My name is Christine Contini. I have 3 books currently published. I have Death Awakening to Life and 2 other short stories. They can all be found on Amazon. They can be found on Winter Wolf Press. I have a 3rd book for the series of the short stories that will be released in March of next year. I have a workbook beginning of the year. We don't have the release date on it yet, but we want to get it in probably the first week of the year. That way people can start the year off right.
Oh, it's been fantastic. I'm looking forward to reading. Jerry?
My name is Jerry Hurtubise, and my book's title is Parkinsonian Democracy, a Legal Fiction. And it's expected to be published and coming out the day after Thanksgiving. And it is an attempt to put Parkinson's on trial in the federal court of public opinion. And what it hopes to do is to help people become aware of the incredible, powerful tools that they have to control their own lives, and in keeping with that thought, their own disease. And it is an honor working with Winter Wolf Press that has been so gracious in accepting the manuscript, and really enjoy working with them.
Amazing. And Russ.
Yeah, my name is Russ Thompson, and I have 3 books that are out. The first one is Tales from the Rim, which was a collection of short stories that I put out independently, which was about a lot of ghost stories and myths, some of which are real, but they were fleshed out in terms of like narratives and short stories. The second one is The Loop Breaker, Beacon in the Darkness, which was my first release on Winter Wolf. And it is a series, and I'm expecting the next one to come out this coming year, probably in the fall of next year, the sequel to The Loop Breaker. And then I also have a children's book called The Owls of Sedgemount that came out last year. And that will probably have a sequel as well, but no release date on that. And I also have another collection of short stories that I hope to put out next year as well. And I'm hoping to collaborate with some local artists again, like I did with Tales from the Rim, where basically I assign a story to an artist and they interpret it their own way, and then I make that as a companion piece to the stories. So that's what I've got coming up.
Thank you, Russ. Thank you very much. And next, I would like a final roundup from everybody, starting with you, Jerry, on what Inspire Change means to you, because our show is called Inspire Change. So what does inspiring change mean to you in your own words?
Well, I think just getting up every morning and seeing the sunshine and the beautiful days and the roses that bloom in our garden inspire changes in my life, because it keeps me going. And that's two sentences.
Great answer. Great answer. And Christine, what does it mean to you to inspire change?
Inspire change is to show others that they're valued, to help them see who they are, and to bring that out to the world, because each of us has a unique piece of this amazing puzzle, and we put them all together and we work as a group, and the world is just on fire. It is just phenomenal. And so bringing that out of people, helping them realize they are the creators of the reality, that's inspiration for change to me.
Perfect. Beautiful answer. There's no really wrong answer in that. And Russ, what does it mean to you to inspire change? And what do you
I agree a lot with what Christine was saying. Basically, help people to find what it is they're passionate about, what it is that they have a gift to give, because everybody has some kind of gift to give, some kind of skill or something to offer others. And once you discover what that is, go with it wholeheartedly and don't allow fear to get in your way or limitations. Take it as far as you can take it.
Wonderful. All right. Well, that about wraps up Inspire Change. I can't wait to have some one-on-one time with everybody. And once we've all read more of the books, and definitely engaging more, online and socially, maybe we can do an Instagram live.
I can put your things on my Facebook too. If you look me up on Facebook, I'll be more than happy to plug your books anytime.
Yeah, fantastic.
Thank you, Miranda. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, anytime. Looking forward to more. Then nice to see you, Jeanette and Laura. Have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. I just want to say, I think that went well. What do you think of all the authors?
Yeah, I was impressed. I some of them I really want to know better. I mean, really want to know better. Christine, especially. And Russ, I really, really got a charge out of Russ. I mean, writing kids' stories, that's dear to my heart. So, yeah, I liked him a lot. They were all good. They all.
Yeah, and I feel like Jeff had a bunch of stories to tell. And yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to checking everybody's books out, and I'll make sure we get some copies in, and so we can check it out and maybe we'll do some Instagram live, maybe we'll do a Facebook live, and we'll bring Gunter into the mix, we'll see what we can do.
Thank you again for listening to this very special episode of Inspire Change, a conversation with authors. And tune in every week on Wednesdays for our regular podcast. Thank you.